On today's show, a Memorial Day mailbag to begin the last week of May. The draft is less than a month away. There's plenty to get to, and it's coming up right now.
You are Locked On Hawks, your daily Atlanta Hawks podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Hello, friends. Welcome to episode 1982 of the Locked On Hawks podcast. I am your host, Brad Rowland, coming to you deeper than the night here on a Monday evening into Tuesday. And I want to encourage you at the top of the show, as I always do, to make it your first listen each and every day. You're Locked On Hawks. Check us out and subscribe to the podcast anywhere you find your podcast. That includes Apple, Spotify. We're also on YouTube, so please like this video as you're watching it. And, of course, crucially, be sure to tell your friends, family, colleagues, etc. about this show. Have them subscribe to the podcast as well. We are officially less than a month now between now and the NBA draft, which arrives in late June, of course. The Hawks still have a front office search going right now. It's been a little bit quiet on that front for the last, week plus at this point. And this is technically a Memorial Day mailbag episode of the podcast. If you follow me on social media, you will note that I was traveling this weekend and actually I'm getting in quite late. It's actually already Tuesday morning as I'm recording this podcast. Hopefully this is not going to be a too punchy of an episode of the show, but I promised that episode if I got back to Atlanta today, and I did. Delayed, but we got here, and a new show in your feeds for Tuesday morning as people return to work and life as they might. So, because there's not really any news whatsoever, and that's probably a good thing on the whole for the Hawks bar in the front office search, I have some mailbag questions to get into on this Monday evening into Tuesday. The first of which is not really newsy, but it came from the realm of somewhat news. So we'll dive in now. And again, if you want to fire questions to the podcast, always, the mailbag is constantly open. I don't always do calls for it, but if you want to send questions to the show at Locked On Hawks on Twitter, I am at BT Rowland on that service, as well as on Blue Sky. If you want to send me questions to my Patreon as well, it's patreon.com/BT Rowland. And then also the email box is open, lockedonhawks@gmail.com. All right, here we go. Johnny says, is there anything to the rumor about the Lakers wanting to trade for Okongwu? So, first thing I'll say is, as you might expect, I had to kind of go figure out what was he even referring to be honest with you, and it is definitely not a rumor. So, not picking on Johnny, this is something I've been doing for a very long time on the show, but rumor is thrown around too casually more often than not. But I found out where this came from. I didn't know, honestly. But David Meneman of ESPN did a podcast interview with Jason McIntyre in the last week or so, and it landed at Hoops Hype, which, if you're not familiar with this, Hoops Hype is a great aggregation service. It's been there for like 20 years. I check it less now than I used to, but certainly used to check it all the time, pre-Twitter, all these things. And then also, from what I could find, one of the Twitter aggregators found this as well. So, again, not a rumor at all, but I'm going to answer the question anyway. Crucially, McMenamin is not reporting active interest between the Lakers and Hawks on Okongwu, much less talks or anything close to that. The way that he phrased it was that he was told that, quote, the Lakers made a call to the Hawks around the deadline for Okongwu, end quote. So this is normal course of business. This isn't a breaking news banner. And by the way, I'll just say this. It's not shocking or even surprising at all. For one thing, Okongwu is a good young player on a very good contract. But the biggest thing is the Lakers have absolutely nothing at center. Like nothing. And they were calling the entire league to try to find a center after what happened with Mark Williams. So if you remember this, the Lakers traded, post-Luka trade, for Mark Williams of Charlotte. And the deal got rescinded because of physical stuff. And it happened so late, it was post-deadline, they had nothing, essentially. So before that deal, they wanted a center. After that deal, they had no other options. But anyway, sometime around there, it seemed like they called on Okongwu. That's the Lakers side. They should be trying to trade for a good young center. And that has not changed at all. But on the Hawks side, I don't really see a deal that would make a lot of sense for the Lakers and the Hawks right now on Okongwu. For one thing, the Hawks are trying to win more games than they did last season coming up. We don't know how all in they might go, but they're not going to be in a rebuild, I don't think, at this point in time. So they traded Okongwu. They have to find another center plan immediately. And look, I know they could draft one. That's a popular idea. And I know that there's a lot of fans that are not super high on Okongwu. That's fine. I like Okongwu. He's really good, I think, already. But put that to the side. Even if you don't like Okongwu and believe that they should draft a center and go with that guy, sure, fine, whatever. A rookie center is not going to be good enough to anchor a playoff team next season for the Hawks. Rookies are not very good, generally speaking. Even the guys who become good are not going to be good enough to do that on their own as a starter next year. So, long story short, I can't imagine the Hawks going with a rookie on purpose as a starter next year. So there's that aspect of this whole thing. Then I also don't love the potential matching salary options for the Lakers on Okongwu. LA has some draft assets that they can trade. They have picks. They do have 5 guys that can actually match salary between $11 and $18 million coming up. That's Rui Hachimura, Jared Vanderbilt, Gabe Vincent, Max Kleber, and then maybe Dorian Finney-Smith, who actually has a player option. He's the best player of those 5 guys, but also might not be available, and the Lakers want to keep him for obvious reasons. Honestly, I would want no part of Vanderbilt, Vincent, or Maxey on those deals unless they're incentivized to take them in some reason, which they probably wouldn't be in this kind of trade. Hachimura is a fine player. I've never been super high on him necessarily. He's definitely a rotation caliber player, but trading Okongwu for Rui would be a bad idea for the Hawks, in my view, even though Rui is a forward, etc. I think Okongwu is just better than him and also had a better contract and higher upside player, all these things. Finney-Smith is very good, but I think the Lakers want to keep him, obviously. So I won't go long on this because it's not really worth it for me to go long on this right now because, look, this is not a rumor. It's not impossible. The Lakers could call the Hawks and give them all of what they have left in their cupboard of assets, basically. But this is not news. It's not buzzy at all from what I've heard. What McManaman said was not really news either because, from the Lakers side, he covers the Lakers. From the Lakers side, of course, they would want to call an Okongwu. I bet you if you follow the NBA discourse in the next 2 months, Lakers will be tied to basically every center under the sun. Young, old, big, small, whatever. They have to get a center, and everyone knows it. So, also, Okongwu is from the LA area, like the Southern California area. So I'm sure that adds to the fire a little bit there. Played at USC, all that stuff. But this is not a rumor. This is not a rumor right now, nor will I probably guess that it probably ever becomes one. But even if you don't like Okongwu, I get it, whatever. I would be surprised if the Lakers made a compelling offer to the Hawks because of where they are, where the Lakers are, what they have to offer, all those things. So I appreciate the question. Always send them in. Because it's ended up on Hoops Hype, I'm sure it made the rounds on Hawks Twitter to some degree that I may have missed. But that's not really news. But it made my question to kind of dive in to the rest of today's podcast. And by the way, it's going to be a heavy Okongwu podcast because later on, I have a question about him as well at the end of the show. But anyway, in a minute, I'll have more on, in fact, Myles Turner, Risacher, etc. for the mailbag. But first, a word from our partners on the podcast. Today's show is brought to you by Monarch Money. You probably done this at some point, but I've looked at my bank account in the past. I wonder where some of my money went, or maybe all of it went between food, entertainment, bills, everything else. It's easy to lose track sometimes, and that's where Monarch Money happens to come in and help you. Monarch Money is your personal CFO, give you full visibility and control of your finances. And Monarch Money is not just a budgeting app; it's instead a complete financial command center. You can track all of your accounts, your investments, and your spending in one place, so you can actually just stop managing your money and instead start building wealth with Monarch Money. When I started using Monarch, I realized how much money I was spending on food, for one example, and now I budget smarter and save more in the process. Instead of juggling multiple apps, you can also use Monarch to check your finances, track your spending, even plan your long-term goals all in one place. And if you want to manage your money in tandem with your partner, it can be really easy to do that and smoother than ever with Monarch Money. You can track shared accounts and personal accounts, set goals, and stay on the same page without any of the stress. Take control of your finances right now with Monarch Money and use code LOCKEDONNBA at monarchmoney.com for half off your first year. That's half off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONNBA, 50% off your first year. All right, probably a quicker question here from Joseph, who says, is there any realistic way for the Hawks to get Myles Turner this summer? The short version is that no, I don't believe there is a realistic way. Is there a plausible way? Yes. Realistic way? Probably not. So Turner is a free agent this summer, which is why it's coming up. Also, he is the archetype that everyone always wants of a bigger center, not a true 7-foot monster, but a bigger center-sized player who can protect the rim and also shoot. Obviously, that's an appealing archetype for sure. He's a good player. But given how he's been playing for a while and his value to Indiana and where they are in the playoff picture right now as potentially a finals team, he's going to get a lot of money this summer, and it will surprise me if it's not from the Pacers. So that's the overall landscape. The Hawks' biggest chip to offer in free agency is the mid-level exception. He is going to get more than that. I will pretty much guarantee you, barring something catastrophic. The path for the Hawks to get Turner would be a sign-and trade. And the question from Joseph, again, includes the word realistic. And that's why I'm saying probably not on this one. The Hawks could do a sign-and trade for Turner, but that requires Turner to want to come to the Hawks, number one. Also, it requires the Pacers agreeing to trade him to the Hawks, and also the Hawks giving him a deal he wants to sign, and then the two teams finding a deal together in a trade to make it all happen. Those four things basically coming together at once seems extremely unlikely to me, based on everything. Number one, Indiana wants to keep him. I think Turner probably wants to stay there and get paid. Indiana's going to probably, I won't say probably, Indiana might be going to the finals. They are favored to make the finals right now as I'm recording this podcast with a lead in the conference finals. They may not do that, but they have nothing else at center. Like nothing. He is their guy, and they have no way to replace him really with a high-end center. So I think it's fair to assume Indiana is the favorite to keep him. If he leaves, he could come to Atlanta, I suppose. But for me, if it became clear that couldn't happen, the Hawks could call on him. And look, his skill set's interesting. Always will be. He's a big. They can shoot and protect the rim. But all in all, Joseph, I would say it is not realistic, probably. It's plausible. I'm not saying there's a 0% chance, but all the indications are I think it's not going to happen this summer. All right, question from Marty from Southwest Georgia, who says, did Stephon Castle winning Rookie of the Year mean that the Hawks got the number one pick wrong last year? Was it an instance in which the Spurs got it right yet a dadgum again? Yeah, that's a direct quote. Even when they didn't have the number one overall pick. And P.S., is Kevin Chouinard as good of a person as he sounds? All right, a lot going on here from Marty. Shout out to Marty for the question. First of all, to answer the P.S., I hope he never hears this, of course. But yes, Kevin Chouinard is actually the best. He's a great guy. I love Kevin. He is one of the best in the business for sure. And now we can go back to our quiet rivalry that we have online. But I do love Kevin. He's a great guy. By the way, a similar question came from Mitchell, who said, if you could redo the 2024 draft again, hypothetically, would you draft Risacher or Castle number one overall, et cetera, et cetera? The first thing I would say to all of this is that even if Risacher won Rookie of the Year, that on its own does not change the evaluation of it to me. Whether he wins it or loses it, that doesn't matter at all to my evaluation personally. On Mitchell's question, I don't think it's Risacher versus Castle for number one overall necessarily. You could still have Alex Sarr there. You can still have whichever guys you want there. Reed Shepard, Zach, pick whichever guy, Ron Holland, whatever. It's too early to say like all that's off the table is just Risacher and Castle. That's also silly. Some Rookie of the Year winners do become the best player in the class. It does happen pretty regularly. But also, a lot of them don't. So, for example, within the last few years, Scotty Barnes won Rookie of the Year in that class. I think there's no way he would go higher than 4th or 5th in a redraft of that year. That class also has Evan Mobley, Cade Cunningham, Franz Wagner, Alperen Sengun, and Jalen Johnson in it. For me, Barnes goes like 5th or 6th in that draft. Even if you're higher on Barnes than I am, he isn't ahead of Mobley and probably isn't ahead of Cade at this point in time. So that's a good example recently of a guy who won Rookie of the Year, but probably isn't going number one in a redraft. Malcolm Brogdon won Rookie of the Year. He's having a really good career, but he was in the same class as Jaylen Brown, Brandon Ingram, Domantas Sabonis, and Pascal Siakam, Jamal Murray. Like, obviously, Brogdon's not the best player in that class. Speaks for itself. Andrew Wiggins won Rookie of the Year. Again, good career, but in a draft that had Jokic, Embiid, Julius Randle, Aaron Gordon, all those guys are better than Andrew Wiggins. So that's another example. Michael Carter-Williams won Rookie of the Year. Tyreek Evans won Rookie of the Year. So another recent one that's kind of quiet, LaMelo Ball won Rookie of the Year. No one's taking him over Anthony Edwards in a redraft right now. No one. And by the way, Halliburton's in that class too and would go ahead of LaMelo for most people. So I won't keep going on this, but you get the point. Winning Rookie of the Year does not make you the best rookie in the class or the best player in the class moving forward. Now, Castle could be the best player in the class. That's definitely possible to me. But I would say, personally, I like Risacher more than Castle. Is the gap massive right now? No, I would say that is fair to say. Even in Rookie of the Year, I thought it was a totally appropriate vote for Castle. I thought it should have been closer at the very least in the final tally. Risacher would have been a number one, a totally reasonable pick as well. I would personally prefer Risacher as a prospect right now to Castle. He had a nice rookie season, did Castle. He's a talented prospect. I value Risacher's skill set more. He's more likely, in my opinion, to translate on a high-level team than Castle is, because Castle's shooting is a question mark. But look, if Risacher flattens out, or if Castle improves his shooting a lot, I could very obviously be wrong on this, but it's where I would be right now. I'd rather have Risacher. I mentioned last week on the podcast that I actually am higher right now on Risacher than I was a year ago. I still believe that. Some of that's just another season of information that I have now, but also he did some things as a rookie that were better than I would have projected them to be, particularly defensively and with his passing and his feel. Well, the jury's out still on this. Like, it would be very silly to suggest otherwise in any direction. Either say definitively it's Zach, definitively it's Castle, definitively it's Sar, whoever. But I do like Risacher more than I did a year ago, and I think that I would have him at the top right now. And by the way, again, it's really, really wide open. Like, it wouldn't shock me if it wasn't any of those guys. I think if you did a consensus redraft right now, it would be Castle, Risacher, and Sar in some order. It could be somebody else. We're still early enough right now where we just don't know. Maybe Ron Holland blows up. Whatever. Pick your guy. Donovan Clingan's still good in Portland, etc. But right now, Rookie of the Year voting does not point me away from Risacher at all, or toward Castle in that discussion. It's not that. It's not where we are right now. It's only a year in. And by the way, people that I know with the Hawks, like, I know that they're obviously biased towards Zach for a reason. He's their guy that they drafted. People around the team that I talk to are very pleased with Risacher. They're not wanting a mulligan. They are in on Risacher's experience. I think I am too, generally speaking, but the coaching staff, the front office, the players, everyone seems to be really in on Zach. He's still really young. So long story short, to answer the question plainly, is it possible the Hawks got it wrong? Yeah, but I am not saying that right now. And it's too early to really decide in any definitive fashion. All right, more to come. I'll have one more question at least from David on Onyeka Okongwu. It'll be an interesting one to get to in a second. But first, a word from our partners on the show. Today's show is brought to you by Wayfair. The days are getting longer, the weather is getting warmer, and people are spending more time outside. That means the perfect time to refresh your outdoor space with the folks at Wayfair. Whether you're working with a big backyard or a small balcony like I have, honestly, Wayfair has everything you need to make it feel more like you. They have a massive selection of Wayfair of outdoor essentials to make it easy to transform any space into your ideal summer setup. They have comfy conversation sets, sleek dining room tables, outdoor decor, and they have it all in one place, plus the prices that fit your budget at Wayfair. I love the mix of styles that they offer at Wayfair. For example, you can grab a new patio set and some string lights from Wayfair to extend your outdoor space. Also make it super easy to find pieces that match your vibe without spending a fortune on that same stuff. And delivery is also free without any hassle, even for the big stuff. Whether entertaining guests or relaxing solo, shop Wayfair to help you unwind. Shop a huge selection of outdoor furniture online at Wayfair. This summer, get outside with Wayfair. Head to wayfair.com right now. That's wayfair.com, Wayfair, wayfair.com. Wayfair, every style, every home. All right, a question from David to get us out of here on an abbreviated, at least relatively abbreviated show deep into the night here on a Tuesday morning. David says, Onyeka went 6th in 2020. Knowing what you know now, how many players would go ahead of him in a redraft? So there is a 45-minute answer to this question that I won't give now. You can go really deep on this. I won't do it, but I'll give you some detail anyway. I believe there are only 5 players that would consensus. And look, when I say consensus, I mean, that doesn't mean everybody, but if you polled 100 people, I think 5 players would comfortably go ahead of Okongwu in a redraft right now in that class. And there's a few more in the class that would be kind of in the same general range as Okongwu. Then there are 2 guys that I think like maybe go ahead of him because of like positional stuff. That's my archetype right now. So basically, the 5 guys that would be in some order ahead of Onyeka for most people are Anthony Edwards, Tyrese Halliburton, Tyrese Maxey, LaMelo Ball, and Desmond Bane. I think those 5 guys probably go ahead of Onyeka for most people. 4 of those guys made the All-Star team so far. And the 5th guy is Bane, but he's averaging 20 points a game on 41% for 3 combined the last 4 years as a wing. That's a very valuable player. Obviously, he's usually in like the top 50 in player rankings around the league. I think if you polled people around the league, he'd probably go 5th a lot in this class. So it should be noted that only 2 of those 5 guys went ahead of Onyeka in the draft. It was a weird draft and a weird long cycle with a COVID shutdown and all that stuff. It was the longest cycle of all time, and stuff happened that was weird. James Wiseman, etc. Anyway, those 5 guys, I think, go ahead of Onyeka. He went 6th in the draft. So if you told me Onyeka went 6th again in a redraft, I would not think that was crazy. There are 2 more guys who I think would probably go ahead of him a lot, and they are Jay McDaniels and Denny Avdia. So those guys, for me, are not like markedly better players than Okongwu, but they do play a more valuable position, generally speaking. Every team in the league, I say this all the time, is looking for 2-way wings and forwards, guys who can defend and play wings and forwards. Those guys can. McDaniels is an all-defensive guy in the recent past on a good team right now, a conference finalist team right now. That's a valuable skill set. Denny was really good this year in Portland, like is a very, very good 2-way player on the forward line. So I think if you, again, poll the league, did a consensus, those 7, I think, probably go ahead of Onyeka. 5 for sure, and then the other 2 maybe lean ahead of Onyeka at this point in time. For me, Okongwu might be the next guy on my personal list, given his combination of age, the way he just played at the end of the season, skill set, pedigree, all those things. But there are other guys in his general range, I would say. You have Okongwu, you have Emmanuel Quickley, who has kind of a weird contract, but it was in Toronto now, etc. Peyton Pritchard with Boston had a great year this year. Isaiah Stewart in Detroit had a great defensive season. And then Devin Vassell, a guy who was like in the running with Okongwu in that draft. Quickly got a big contract. Obviously, he's a starting guard. Pritchard's 6th man of the year. You have Vassell's defense has been a little bit shaky, but he's shot the ball really well in San Antonio at times. Stewart's a good defender. Like, good players. All those guys are good players. I personally have Okongwu at the top of that group. That's me. And definitely ahead of Pritchard and Stewart and Vassell. If you want to argue with Quickly, I'm fine with that. Whatever. Different players. But certainly in that 7-8 range of this class. Then you get into the other guys who like are first rounders in a redraft. Obi Toppin, old pal Sadiq Bey, Isaac Okoro, Cole Anthony, Josh Green, Patrick Williams. Those guys are all playing, but Okongwu is better than them. Like all of those guys. And then the second round, there's no like big home run. Like usually there's like one big home run in the second round. Not really that year. It's Trey Jones, Isaiah Joe, Nick Richards, Paul Reed, Xavier Tillman, Sam Merrill, and of course, V. Krejci by OKC back in the day. So anyway, there are 5 guys I think for sure-ish ahead of Okongwu. 2 more in that range. That means Okongwu's like in the number 8 kind of range. And yeah, he went 6th. I get that. I did see a recent redraft. I won't name the place that had Okongwu outside the lottery. And that to me is absolutely insane. Like you cannot tell me there are 14 players in this class better than Okongwu. I'm sorry. That doesn't exist. Even if you're low on him, they don't exist. Like you can't get to 14. Could you get to 10? Sure. If you want to stretch it a little bit, get to 12, whatever. 14, can't do it. I'm sorry. So it's been up and down for sure with Okongwu. I get that. I like the pick when it happened. It was a best player available pick. It was definitely not a draft for need because they had just traded for Capella. I get all that, but it was a BPA draft. It's working okay. I feel fine about it. People ask me this kind of all the time. Like, yeah, it's not a home run pick. There are guys you'd rather have. I totally get that. But also, it's totally looks fine, especially 5 years later. Look at it more closely. For example, Edwards and LaMelo were gone, obviously. Tyrese Halliburton very famously did not want to come to Atlanta. Him and his agent told the Hawks not to take him. That actually happened. He's admitted that on the record. That's not even like a whisper thing. That's been on the record now. So he's the guy everybody always points to. There's a reason I didn't take him. Also, I don't think he and Trey would have – I don't think Halliburton becomes Halliburton playing next to Trey. And vice versa, maybe. So there's that. Tyrese Maxey, you would have been small. I liked him a lot in that class. I had him consensus firm in my top 10. He went like 21. That was crazy he fell that far. But obviously, I got why the Hawks wouldn't take him. He was a small combo guard playing next to Trae Young. It doesn't make a ton of sense. And Bane, yeah. Would you rather have Bane? Probably. But Bane went 30th and was never, ever going 6th. Like, I like to be practical in a redraft to say, look, I covered that draft. There was no one saying Bane should go 6th. No one. No one was doing that. Maybe someone on the internet was. I'm not saying nobody. I shouldn't say no one. People were not talking about him in that range. So it's like, let's be realistic for a second. That's the one guy that I wouldn't point to. And like, look, I had Okongwu ahead of Wiseman. That was not a consensus opinion. That was actually, of course, Wiseman went 2nd. I went to Onyeka the whole time ahead of him. There's audio proof of that back in the day. But Wiseman went 2nd. That was a crazy pick to me. I never saw that. But like, Okongwu went behind guys they shouldn't have gone behind even then, with Okoro, Williams, Wiseman, etc. Long story short, I think the consensus right now on Okongwu is too low nationally. That probably changes a little bit this summer as people kind of dig back into what happened at the end of last year and see, oh my gosh, Okongwu averaged 15, 10, and like 3 or 4 on great efficiency for like 2.5 months. He's good. Like, he may not be elite. I'm not saying that, but I think that he's a good player and on a good contract. And yeah, is that pick perfect? No. But I think that if he hadn't been backing up Capella for a couple of years, people would probably know more that he's good. So long story short, how many guys will go ahead of him? 5 for sure, maybe 7, maybe 8, but not more than that. So we'll stop there for now. Hopefully that's a good wrap up on a Monday evening into Tuesday, and we'll have much more to come later on this week on the draft and other stuff. I have guests lined up, hopefully in the near future. We'll talk about some free agency stuff, talk about some cap stuff, and of course, plenty of draft because, again, we're less than a month away from the NBA draft, and we'll be wrapping up in basically just pedal to the floor fashion over the next 4+ weeks on the show. So please subscribe to Locked on Hawks anywhere you find your podcast, Apple, Spotify, YouTube, etc. Follow the show on Twitter/X at Locked on Hawks. Follow me there at BT Rowland. Follow me on Blue Sky at BT Rowland, and also follow my non-podcast work at patreon.com/BT Rowland. All right, everybody. Hope you enjoyed your Memorial Day weekend. We'll have more to come this week, and we'll see you all next time.